Welcome, everybody, to episode 5 of the Big Ben and Friends podcast. I am your host, Big Ben Ortmanns, and this week we're going to be getting to know one of my friends from the pro wrestling business. This man here is the epitome of the word workhorse. I think anybody who's ever seen this man perform would refer to him as a genetic and athletic freak. While personally, I do agree with all that, I'd also like to point out that he's probably one of the hardest working human beings that I do know. This man here has been a staple of the Ontario independent wrestling scene for the last decade. He's made a name for himself by dominating Alpha One Wrestling for a number of years. He's been a huge part of Crossbody Pro Wrestling for the last year and a half. He is a former Crossbody Pro Wrestling Internet Champion, and he's also a small part of a group of individuals from Crossbody Pro Wrestling who have co-designed a T-shirt that is on sale right now at prowrestlingtees.com/crossbodyprowrestling, where 100% of the proceeds of that shirt, as well as many other shirts, including both of ours that we've designed and we've put on there, that's all being donated to a group that was also chosen by Justin Sane and Shogun and Blake 182, which is www.blacklivesmatter.ca. This guy here is one of my favorite human beings in the business, and I mean that with every fiber of my being. And everybody, welcome my friend Justin Sane. How are you doing today, sir?
Good, buddy. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. I like to start all these podcasts off by making sure that we've got a little something in our cups, just to make sure that we're relaxed. So what do you got going on over there?
Oh, we got my favorite beer company, Great Lakes Brewery. We're drinking the Big Fight Octopus. It's like a hoppy IPA. It's about 6.2%. I like the beers that give me that little punch.
Oof, you're into the strong boy beers, huh?
Oh yeah, it's gotta matter. I'm not a like obviously there's a time and a place for like a nice light beer, but if I'm gonna just enjoy beer and I'm at home, I have nothing to do, punch me in the face.
Punch you right in the face. I can respect that. I've only heard of the Great Lakes Brewing Company. I've never had it. That's a craft beer, correct?
Yeah, it's in Ontario too. They're really good.
Yeah, they've
Really
got
good.
like kind of the artsy fartsy cans. They're not the ones with Georgie Animal Steel on it, is it?
No, that isn't. No, I have tried that beer. It's not the
No,
best, but they
no.
don't do that animal steel beer though. No,
Ah, okay. But
that beer
I've
tastes good. I
I've been
can't love.
trying to find that Georgie Animal Steel beer, and I have not been able to find it yet successfully. I'm rocking because I'm a real man. I've got some White Claw mango going on, so
Oh,
I
there you
just wanted to
go.
make sure that I'm matching your manliness and your 6.2 strongman beer with some of the finest hard seltzer that you're gonna find, baby.
It's all
So,
good. Drinks a
oh
drink.
yeah. So, Justin, I got to ask, this is the first question that I start every podcast off with. I did give you the heads up on this just to see if you do remember, because I'm not going to lie to you. I don't really remember when I met you. So I'm kind of I know that we've became friends, and I'm trying to remember myself if there was something that sparked that, or if that's just something that we kind of just like kind of just fell into becoming friends just by being in the same locker rooms with one another. But what are your memories of us becoming pals, so to speak?
Honestly, I have like the worst memory ever because most of the time when you're in a locker room, you're sometimes it's a new locker room. You're shaking hands with like 10, 20 people you've never met before. So it's just like boom, 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 boom. So out of those like 20 people you've just met, you'll probably remember like 3 names kind of thing. So like I know you've been around for a while, so I know I've definitely crossed paths with you many times. And I feel like when I met you the very, very first time, I'm not sure where, you're a lot bigger. So then like the first time actually like working with you like in a roster like consistently was what was Customs show conflict.
Conflict, yes.
Conflicts. That's when I like really like got to know you. And then like, I remember being like, dude, like I've seen you like before. I know I have like for sure, but you've lost like a crap ton of weight since me seeing you again at conflict like in 2000 and I want to say 13, 14, like long time ago, a while ago.
You know what? That's actually
But
ringing a bell, and it makes a lot of sense because I took time off to do the mixed martial arts and kickboxing stuff, and I had taken probably about like 4 years off of wrestling. And when I came back, I wasn't even really back yet. I had came to a conflict show because Tid had actually came down to London where I was training for my mixed martial arts stuff. He came to help me get ready for my first kickboxing fight.
yeah,
It was either my first or second one, because I knew that Yes, it was my second kickboxing fight, because the first kickboxing fight that I had, it was difficult for me because where the gym that we were at, there wasn't a lot of big guys. Everybody there was like, they were smaller and they were like world-class caliber athletes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
some of the best 145 to like 155 pound division guys in North America at one point in time came from like either, Adrenaline or Team Tompkins. And that's just kind of what they were known for. And the reality is those guys would whoop my ass on a daily basis. Like, if they wanted to, little tiny little Mark Hominick, who everybody's like, oh, he's a 145er, and Ben, you're literally twice his size, could
Yeah.
fuck with me at any point in time that he wanted to. They were savages. But I also realized that after my first fight, fighting a guy my size, it was just so much different, because landing those punches on bigger guys is like landing punches on like a brick wall. It's a much different energy source than landing on smaller guys. So I knew that going into my second fight, I needed bigger guys to fight and spar with. And Tid was one of the few guys who actually came down to lend his body. And it was super appreciative. And then he invited me down to why do I keep wanting to call it conflict? It wasn't conflict. Crossfire.
Right.
So he brings me down to Crossfire for a show, and I just remember it was kind of like starting to get the itch back. And then once I kind of decided that I was gonna get back into the swing of things, he brought me back in to be like a manager for or like a bodyguard for, if it was RJ and Psycho Mike, I want to say. And then how I remember you and me doing something was, you were wrestling one of the two of them, I can't remember, and I had to come in and I had to do something, but I was going to give you a kick to the head. And I was trying to explain to you how like I do kicks to the head now, which is like a kickboxing style. And as I'm showing people, that's how I remember us becoming buddies now that I think about it, is because you were just like, I ain't taking that fucking kick. No, fuck you. No way. I ain't doing that shit. And I was just like, no, I promise I'll take care of you. And you're like, fuck you. I was just watching you and I'm not doing that. I'm not taking that. And then I was just like, just stay there. And then he's just like, you're like, what? And then I just did it to you right in the back. And you're just like, all right, fine. I'll do it. That, and I think Lionel was on the show. And usually when you, me, and Lionel are together, we're outside having our own little fun. And I think that that's probably where we became buds.
Adult meetings. Yeah, I remember that, because I think that was conflict, that run-in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was conflict.
I get them and Crossfire mixed up a lot. Crossfire is Niagara.
Yeah.
Conflict is, yes. Okay, so that's right.
Yeah.
Which is funny because we even have the Conflict tag titles kicking around our gym somewhere.
Yeah, because they had that pretty nice venue down in Hamilton by like the pier, which is pretty nice. I forget who ran it. What was his name? Oh my god. Jeff? No.
Mark Shaw? Was he
No,
the one that did that?
I want to say Cameron, but it wasn't Cameron.
Cameron Banks. It was Cameron Banks.
What?
Fringe.
That was
Fringe.
Yeah.
Yes. We did some stuff there too, I remember. And that venue was, oh my God, I loved that venue because it was literally on like that pier there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that was some good times. We never wrestled there though, did we?
Nope, I don't think so. I honestly don't think you and I have even had a one-on-one. At least I can't remember.
I was actually just about to ask you that. I can't even remember if we have or not. I feel like we've been in a match before, but I don't know if it was a one-on-one. And now I'm even trying to remember.
I probably feel like it wasn't a one-on-one. It may have been like Lily probably wanted like a match, or it's like a battle royal or some kind of gauntlet thing. But I know I've been in the ring with you, but I know for a fact we've never done a one-on-one.
Well, let's change that when wrestling comes back, okay? Because I'm giving myself a year to kind of go through and just kind of do all the fun stuff that I never really was able to do just because of my focuses were elsewhere. So
yeah, for sure, of course.
I'm gonna be that selfish prick the next year when we get back. I've even called it. I'll be that gross promoter who brings in like people to wrestle for me. You know what I mean? Just because I got a point to prove this year, and I'm gonna have some fun while I'm doing it. You know?
Cheers. That's fine. It's your show.
You know what the funny thing is, dude, is I was just thinking about this. You know, we've done about a little over 60 shows altogether with the, just the regular shows and then the showcase series shows. And I've never actually booked one match for myself. I've only ever like gone in there for like favors purposes, like to try to help build the company. I hate saying favors, but like, cause it's my company. I'm trying to build it.
Yeah.
But that's literally, those are the only matches I've ever really put myself in. So I haven't even really put myself in a position to succeed in my own company, which is kind of hilarious. So, we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. The lay of the land is changing on an hourly basis these days in wrestling. And you kind of, thankfully, I would like to say thankfully, with everything that's happening right now, and all of these different crazy things that are going on in wrestling, the one thing that I feel like I can say that I'm almost like most proud of is that I took it upon myself a long time ago to keep my circle very, very small in pro wrestling. And it's very, very cool to know that the people that I've kind of chosen to be around me and like just on my team in general, while all of this is going on, our crew has remained not only squeaky clean, but have been people that you can look up to in these situations and have been leaders and have been people that have been going the extra mile to try to help people who need the help. And it just makes me realize that like my entire purpose, like from the word go, was to try to put like not just a talented group around me, but like good human beings around me, because, you know, like everybody's good in wrestling these days. So talent's not really even that big of a deal. But when you put a bunch of good people around you that all have like minds, it's just going to be something special. And I feel like that's something certainly that we've created as a team in Kitchener. But it's just cool to know that like, while all this is going on, it's just like, shit, we picked the right people. And it's just kind of a cool thing to know, you know, because a lot of guys are watching their friends go down. And
Pretty
must
sad,
be
but
got to be hard to watch, just because like in a weird way it's almost, it's like a friend dying in a weird way. Like I was just watching this thing because what happened with Chris D'Elia, because I admit I'm a huge Chris D'Elia fan, was a huge Chris D'Elia fan until that whole thing came out a few days ago, you know. And then you're watching like podcasts are kind of my thing, which is what inspired me to do this in the first place, because it's pretty much all I watch. And I was just watching the King and the, or no, not the King and the Sting, Fighter and the Kid. And you're literally watching two grown men like Brendan Schaub and Brian Calloway. I can't remember his fucking name right now. I'm sorry. You're watching these two grown men cry because they're literally just like, that's my friend. And I didn't know. And I had no clue. And they're just like, they literally said the same thing. They're like, it's like watching a friend die going through all of this stuff. So I'm just glad that we picked the right team, you know?
Yep.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
Now, Justin, one of the biggest reasons that like I wanted to start this project to begin with was to get to know my friends better, you know, because it can be hard to catch up at shows sometimes. And especially with what's going on right now, like it's almost even harder to catch up, even though we've got all this spare time, just because, you know, we're trying to keep ourselves afloat and we're trying to keep ourselves, for lack of better terms, sane. So again, I'm trying to get to know my buds a little bit better. So like, I know you as the wrestler, but like, tell me a little bit more about Justin, the man.
Yeah, well, as you know, like most people know, like I'm a personal trainer. So pretty much my life is, in a nutshell, basically revolved like around that industry. So like during this whole COVID thing, I realized that I'm getting like probably 10 to 15,000 less steps a day and not being just at work, right? So
Yeah.
when COVID started, I was just kind of eating fairly clean, like eating like pretty good, then having like my cheat meals kind of sporadically throughout the week. But the lack of activity, even though I was working out still every day, like body workouts and stuff, not getting those steps in, like when you're just not at work for those 8, 12 hours a day, like it really creeps in. So I was getting pretty soft. So like literally a month ago, I'm just like, okay. So I got to like just switch it up. So I have to completely change my eating to someone who's not quote, quote, as active when you're not, again, walking around 8, 10 hours a day. Like you can work out 2, 3 times a day, but that's only what, 2, 3 hours altogether.
Sure.
Whereas when you're up on your feet moving around. So yeah, it's pretty much based around fitness. Obviously, I'm not scared to have a drink. That's why I kind of train so hard, so I can have a beer or crush a pizza or smash some ice cream and not feel too bad about it.
Absolutely.
know?
You know, and that's a lot of thing that people forget. Like they see, you know, how jacked you are, but then forget all the work that goes into to obtaining that physique, you know? Like that's a lot of calories that you've got to obtain and burn, and it's like this really odd mix. But you know, when you putting in the amount of work that someone like you does, then shit, yeah, you're allowed to have like a nice little beer. See, I don't put in the amount of work that you do, so I gotta have these like low calorie seltzers just to make sure that, you know, I'm balancing my shit out.
Those are dangerous. They taste too good, so then I'll end up drinking more of them, kind of thing,
They
right?
almost So here's the thing. Not only do they taste good, it's almost like they don't taste like anything at all. So it's like, have you ever had those bubbly drinks?
Mhm.
So it's almost like drinking one of those. You don't even realize there's alcohol in it until you look over and you're like, oh, I'm 7 cans deep. And then you go to stand up and you're just
Yeah.
fall. And you're like, oh, I'm apparently really drunk. And I didn't even notice that that was happening. So
Yes, and
thank
you
you,
bring
White Claw. I appreciate that shit. Okay,
seriously fun.
so obviously, like you're a fitness nut, but that's like, have you always been that way? Like, have you, like, when did you get into fitness? Like, when
I,
is
I've
that something
always
that?
I've always been like a super, super, super active kid. So like growing up, we didn't have like a lot of money at all. So pretty much my entertainment was here's a soccer ball or here's a bike, go outside. So I was literally like just like my life was literally like outside all day long. So even if say I did something like say I screwed up as a kid, when I was grounded, my grounding would be okay, you can't play outside, but you can do whatever you want inside. And it sucked because I didn't have any video games or anything. So you have like a TV and God knows I watched every Disney movie that we had a bajillion times already. So I was just always outside playing soccer at a young age, played football and rugby throughout high school, got MVP in rugby, won a football championship, undefeated season our junior year. Got into wrestling in the middle of the rugby and football season, obviously, because I started wrestling when I was 15.
Amateur or like getting into pro?
Pro wrestling.
Okay,
I would
so
have
where
loved to have done amateur wrestling if my high school had it, but they didn't have it. So,
did you went to school? Did you go to school in Hamilton?
uh, Burlington, I went to Aldershot High School.
Aldershot. Okay. So the reason why I'm asking is because I actually went to high school in Dundas. So I'm not very far from you. So I think that our high schools probably even played football against one another.
Pretty good
Um,
chance.
I went to Highland. I was a Highland Hawk in Dundas.
Okay.
So the reason I'm asking is just because you said that you started training at 15?
Yeah.
Where did you start training? See, I don't even know the story about you.
I started training at LLWA, so Living Legends Wrestling Academy. So that's pretty much the place where a lot of guys that you see now started. So like
So
Hacker,
how
that
the fuck did I not know you? Because I actually helped like a lot out at LLW, at least anyway, and LLWA for a while.
so what probably happened was when I started doing like the LWA student shows,
Yeah.
I did those up until I was about, I want to say, probably 16, 17. And then I had a match is at a student show. And we did a really stupid move off the top rope. And I messed up my neck. And at the time, I was like 120 pounds, soaking wet. So then later on that night, if you remember, they always had a student show at like noon, and then at night they'd have like the LOW show, so like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
show. And then I remember, like I was a student at the time, right? So I did my show in the morning, and like I didn't want to bus all the way back home to Burlington and bus back, so I just hung out in the back, right, until that show came. And then I remember they asked, I said, "Hey, do you want to just do a 6-man match?" It was me, Sean Inferno, and oh God, who's the other guy? I feel like an ass. I don't remember, but it was like so long
It
ago.
happens.
But
Yeah, yeah.
it was against Quan Chang, Danny Magnum, and Tidwell.
Really?
So after
Okay, so
that, like
tell me tell me about
right?
that then, because like if that was like your first like big show and you got to wrestle with Notorious TID, what was that like as a youngster, especially back then?
Oh, I was terrified for two reasons. Because Quan Chang and Tid would train us. Because when you go to LW, like when they moved to Unit 13, you didn't know who was training the class. You didn't know if it was gonna be Reggie Marley, Rip
Yeah.
Impact. You didn't know if it was gonna be Ernie, Greg, Brett Scholl. You had no idea. So then like
Right.
the days would come in and it'd be to like Tidwell or Quan Chang or Reggie, like those three. Every time it'd be like, we're going to be working today, which is good, but you know, it's like a freaking hard class. If you pretty much work out for an hour before you even step foot in the ring, and like we always complain about it, but like I liked how that was done. It was good. Like it just built that base, built that discipline. Like
it's something that
so,
I don't think anybody has ever in history appreciated while it's happened, but has always gone back in retrospect and thanked them for that kind of mental and like physical torture, because it genuinely made a man out of you and was able to get you to that next level that everybody else was afraid to hop into. And it
oh, for
provides
sure.
work ethic as well.
For sure, and that's just the business of if people hate doing that and their goals against the WWE. Well, newsflash: at the tryout, they pretty much told us, they showed us, we did all the drills that they do every single day before they even get into the ring. So if you don't like doing that little workout before getting in the ring, and that is your goal, then you better just learn to love it. But again, like you said, you're gonna thank the coach and trainer afterwards. Like it's not because they want to be dicks. It's for you. It's benefiting you. Like, do you want to
100%.
get blown up in a ring? Do you want to be strong? Do you want to be able to support a guy with the move and not drop him because you're blown up? It's really for you and your opponent. There's a reason for it. They're not just making you do it to be assholes, right? So I always
100%.
appreciated it. At the time, yes, hated it, but like still like appreciated it, you know?
That's cool. That's cool that I had no idea that like Tid had a small hand in your training.
Yeah, for sure.
That's very fascinating.
Because it was when Unit 13 closed, they ended up going to like a slightly smaller unit. And then like, yeah, Tid was there like on the Saturdays, and that's when I met Custom and his tag team partner, the Hollywood Hunks,
Yeah.
Custom Center. So I met like them, right?
Yeah.
So like, I met them there on the Saturdays.
Man,
So,
that's cool. I had no idea. So just out of curiosity then, like were you always a wrestling fan like growing up? Like was there anything that like made you specifically want to get into wrestling per se?
oh, always. I would say like I was always just see for me, like with my personality, like if you tell me not to do something, I'm gonna really want to do it. Like I'm always like just kind of like the reverse. So growing up, like I was like super religious family household, like Seventh Day Adventist. So like pretty much you have school, that's like number one, and then number two is always church stuff, right?
Yep.
So wrestling was always really violent. So I remember being in Edmonton, like I was really young. It was the first time ever seeing wrestling on TV, and it was Bret Hart. Cause like I remember the big flag and it had like the pink and black, and I just remember just watching it on TV. And like my parents were in the room at the time, and I was just like, "This is really cool." And then his opponent came down to the ring, and then I remember he grabbed Bret Hart's flag and he broke it, and I was just like, "Yo, like that ain't cool!" Like getting so into it. And I remember my mom came down and was like, "What are you watching?" "Oh, no way!" Like turn that off. Like that's too violent. Like that's not allowed in the house. But I was already like,
You got
like,
hooked.
did he get him back? He broke his flag. Like what the hell? So I was just like already like fixed on it. So fast forward like a year later, my dad got a job here in Ontario. So we had to move from Edmonton to Ontario. And then I remember going to a whole different school. And then the kids in the playground, I was like the new kid, right? So I was kind of just always by myself. But
Yeah.
the kids in the playground would just be doing wrestling moves in the wintertime. Like, you know, you rock bottom your friend in the snow and all that stuff. So I just went over, I'm like, "Yo, what are you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, we're wrestling, man. You know the Stone Cold Stunner?" And I was like, "No, I don't. Like, tell me." So they'd be telling me like every day about Raw, like, "Oh, the Undertaker did this, Stone Cold Stunner, the whole corporate." And I'd try and go home and try and watch it, but my mom would never let me because like, no, it's too violent, it's too violent. So the only time I was able to watch it, I'd be trying to like sneak it. So I'd be
Yeah.
lucky to get 5-10 minutes. And then one day she's like, "Okay, fine, I'm gonna watch it with you. And the second I see anything like super violent or aggressive or a swear word, we're turning it off." And I was like,
That's good
"Yeah,
parenting.
hopefully like someone normal comes out." So I turn on the TV and DX's music hits. And I was like, so I literally just changed the channel. She goes, "What? You don't want to watch it?" And I was like, "You're gonna make me change the channel anyway. Like it's DX. Like I give up." So then fast forward to me just trying to sneak it throughout the years. I think when I was 12, I was able to watch like an hour of Raw, then like an hour of SmackDown. So I just kind of just kept nagging, and then 15 years old, started training. Luckily, then she just gave in, and then I was finally able to like just watch it full tilt and then go back to the Attitude Era that I had missed because I wasn't allowed to watch it. I had to pretty much figure it out and trying to watch old clips because you know how hard it was to find clips back then. You
Sure.
could just go on YouTube and find it.
Yeah, it was a
so
lot
hard.
harder. Tape trading was the way to go about that stuff.
A ton of VHSs upstairs, tons, like old recordings and stuff like that. But it's just a hassle. So it just kind of made me just love it. But now she loves it. Like she knows I love it. But I
So
get it.
how did you find out about LLW then? Like, how did you?
One of my buddies in high school, was in grade 10, he goes, "Hey, you like wrestling?" Because we'd always backyard wrestle in his backyard. Just, who hasn't wrestled in their backyard? So we'd always just wrestle in his backyard. And he just said, and he actually wrestled for EWF for like a summer. So we did a summer. Have you heard of Bob Woods?
I have heard of Bob Woods,
Back
yes.
in the day. So I think it was like a Burlington promotion.
Yeah.
So he wrestled for them. They did like
advertised Sting at one point, if I remember correctly.
I think so. So.
That is the legendary story of one of the many legendary stories of Bob Woods.
Yeah. So then, long story short, there's a March break training camp, and I said, okay, sweet, I'll definitely want to go. It was in Hamilton, so obviously you can figure out how much ass kissing I have to do to convince her mom to give me the money to drive me there and back for the whole week to do wrestling. And the only reason she caved was she's like, you know what? He's like 100 pounds. He's gonna go get his ass kicked for the whole week, and then he'll just forget all about it. Like she didn't tell me this till like 3 years ago.
Right.
And then of course you just gave the alcoholic a beer, and then I was just hooked. I was just hooked ever since. That was it. No turning back. But I started doing better in school because like that was her new thing. Like, okay, if you're screwing up, like there's no more wrestling. So I was like, okay, shit, all right, cool. So it kind of like made me behave better in school because I actually had something to lose.
Dangled the carrot in front of you. That's smart.
Oh, 100%. But it was like a long battle to finally just get her to cave.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then when you first started training, like, I mean, I'm sure you probably ran into a lot of the same issues that we all run into. Like, I mean, especially with wrestling. And this is something that it comes up in every interview so far. But it's funny because we all have the same experience. When you first start training to wrestle, there's like a few things that always go through your head, that this is way fucking harder than I thought it was going to be. And that this is absolutely nothing like what I thought it was going to be. We all have this grand vision of what we think we're going to be able to do and what we're going to become, and like all these cool things that we're going to do to captivate a crowd. And then you get 20 minutes into your first day of training and realize none of what you ever thought is going to happen. It is a real humbling fucking experience.
It was the weirdest experience ever because I always thought it was real. Like I thought it was real. Like people would always be like, wrestling's fake, right? Like it's all staged, you know who's gonna win. And in my head as a kid being like, nuh-uh, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy, the tag team champions. Why would they agree to just lose their tag team belts? You're an idiot. Go home, forget you. So I always had it like in my head, like, no, it's real. Like come on, it's a good fight.
How old were you when you figured this out?
Oh, so I went to that March break training camp. So I was grown, bro. Like I was like into it. Like I grew up to a point where I knew like that it was I knew they weren't trying to kill each other, but part of me just still felt like I didn't get it. So then when that first practice, I think Scotty O'Shea actually came in. So he was already training there probably for 2 years before I came in.
So Hacker smartened you up?
Pardon?
Hacker smartened you up?
Well, no. So he came in, and then I think Brett Scholl was like coaching us, right? And he said, "Hey, we're just going to show you guys a quick match, just kind of on the fly, just what it looks like." And I'm like, "Oh shit, coach is gonna kill the student. This is nuts." Because we were just doing rolls and bumps, right? Like it wasn't any rap for that first day.
Yeah.
So then they had the match, and I'm there at ringside, hearing them calling stuff, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, they do talk to each other. It is planned. Then I'm just like, derp. I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'm like, you really don't think you couldn't kick out? You know what I mean? That's just all like hit me out once, but I wasn't like bummed out. I was just like, oh shit. But then right away, I'm just like, cool. I want to get really good at making this look real. And then like I was still like just into it. It's like that. Whoa. Okay. So okay, they're right. It is like fixed, but like you can still make it look really damn good. Like people like, why not? So like I was still like just as into it. So it was like that wake up call, but like it didn't change my love for the sport at all.
100%. So like when I guess now we can kind of start getting into some shit here a little bit. So what was the biggest obstacle that you faced when like you started getting into wrestling?
Biggest obstacle. I honestly can't think of like a huge like obviously like injuries aside.
Sure.
Like injuries aside, biggest obstacle, I guess in the very, very, very beginning, it was my size.
Yeah.
I was
Your
super
size.
athletic. Well, when I started, I was only 120 pounds.
Oh, actually, you know what? I do kind of remember a scrawny Justin Sane. Yeah, you did definitely put on some size. Okay.
It's just my size. So every time I'd like have a match, you kind of get the critique, and it would always be like the same thing. Hey, this was great, work on that, but like you gotta get bigger, bro. But then in my head, I'm just like, yeah, but like Rey Mysterio's little, like Jeff Hardy's a cruiserweight, and then they're just like, yeah, but they're still like 180 pounds and then some. You gotta put on size. Excuse me. So I was like still working out at home, but you know how it is when you're 15 working out. You're grabbing
Yeah.
dumbbells, you're curling it, doing crappy presses, not doing any goddamn leg day for that matter.
Never.
So then I didn't start actually. Yeah, that was like the biggest obstacle, just the beginning. Like, was this my size? And like, no matter how much I was eating or thought I was eating, I just wasn't gaining any weight. So me actually fucking up my neck in that accident at that student show, which took me out for like a year, was the best thing that happened to me. Because in that year, I literally was just like, if I had a huge neck like Brock Lesnar, I probably wouldn't have fucked my shit up. So I'm just gonna like work out properly. So then I just went online, worked out properly. I started doing co-op at Good Life, which was perfect timing. So then like the trainers there helped me out. They gave me lots of tips. They're like, yo, you gotta eat 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day. And I was like, excuse me? They're like, yeah, just get it in you. So I was just like killing myself for this year, just lifting. And then fast forward, I gained 60 pounds. So then when I came back finally, I still had the athleticism. I was still the same wrestler, just bigger. I actually had a look. And then that's when Justin Sane just took off and hopped over that first big obstacle. So because I finally just looked the goddamn part.
Is that when like you kind of started to break out in Alpha 1? Was when you started to put that size back on? Yeah.
Yeah. So like I started with Death Proof. And then, Alpha 1 started like probably a year or two after that. And then that was it.
Nice. So I do got to ask, just because, I mean, one thing that I prefaced the interview with before we actually started to hit record was one thing that I really wanted to talk to you about is just because, you know, we're good enough friends that we're able to have, you know, just a comfortable chat about stuff that especially that's going on right now. And it might be a topic that a lot of people may not be comfortable speaking about. So one thing that I wanted to ask you, just because I want to know myself, you know, like we're doing our part, like we're doing all of what we can to try to help as far as, you know, putting money, like fundraisers together and all that other stuff. I don't think that that's enough. I just don't think that that's enough. I think that you can always learn more, you know, and I want to learn more about like what kind of issues have you ever run into any issues? Because who knows? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if everybody does. Have you ever run into any issues in pro wrestling just because of the color of your skin? Have you ever run into like any of that kind of stuff that has made your life difficult just because you're a black guy?
Yeah, honestly, like knock on wood, at least not that I can remember, with the guys in the back and promoters, with me specifically, I can't speak for all my other brothers.
Yeah.
The guys in the back and the promoters, like my whole career, I couldn't tell you one story where they kind of shot at me for being black or put me down. Like obviously, like we're buddies too. Like you know how it is in the back. We're always joking. We're always busting each other's balls. That's wrestling. You got to have thick skin. But no one ever would
100%.
cross that line, which is awesome. Like I feel fortunate. Like I'm sure there's obviously, but again, I wrestle like 98% of the time in Canada. I'm sure that'd be different. Maybe if I was in the States. So like obviously it's a different vibe in the States, but I've heard fans numerous times kind of say random shit. But
So
like you're in the match, you're not thinking about it. You're just in the match, and then usually it's halftime. It's my fiance that'll tell me after the show, being like, "Yo, did you hear what that fan screamed out in your match?" And I'm like, "Oh no, what they say?" And then she'll tell me, and then I'm like, "Oh shit, I didn't hear them." Kind of glad I didn't hear them because you're just so into the match,
right.
so I don't really like notice it. But like in terms of the guys and promoters and promotions I've worked for, I haven't witnessed it like for myself. Because every locker room is so diverse, right? Like it makes no sense to me why you would want to even be like a professional athlete of any sport if you're a racist. Because
yeah, I don't
professional
get it.
around the world, you want to go to the Olympics? Guess what? you're competing against people who aren't white or aren't your race. Suck it up, right? So
Yeah.
the guys and the promoters, Canada, I can speak for, have been freaking fantastic.
What about
But
fans? Like,
fans here and there, you will kind of hear something, you get some feedback. But like, what am I going to do? Go and beat up a fan? Like, there's really not much I can do. But going forward now, I'm going to make more of an effort to kind of call those people out, bring it to the promoter, get that fan escorted out, hopefully banned from further shows. Because there's times I just ignore it. After a while, it becomes so constant, you just ignore it, and it's just like a bad joke over your head. You just ignore it, you just ignore it, you just ignore it. But I can make an effort now since this whole movement to try not to ignore it as much and still try and call people out on their shit, because it is just random fans sometimes. It's not every show, but I'd say probably twice, 2-3 times in a year. But it's not to a point where someone's slashing my tires or wanting to beat me up or anything. It's just
right. Sorry, I
just a tough guy. Yep.
Just fixing the lighting because my curtain's open and I don't like the look of it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So you've never really run into any situations like where like fans have come up to you and they've been rude, or like any like situations online where like maybe on social media where people are being dicks. Like you've been relatively okay.
Well, social media is its own monster. So for example, when I had the WWE tryout, they had posted they just posted like a video of the whole tryout, like just obviously like a 5-minute clip of the tryout.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of reading through the comments, and then just a lot of the comments being like, oh, like that black guy looks like the Shelton Benjamin, or that black guy is like Apollo Crews' replacement. But I guess when you think about it with fans, I guess at shows that's come up to me, I personally don't find this particular one offensive, just because when you hear the whole story, you'll see why I can let it roll off the back. But I couldn't tell you how many times people come up to me and they'll be like, yo, Cedric Alexander, can I get your autograph? And I'm like, yo, I'm not him. And they're just like, no, like, you're him. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It actually happened at Crossbody once, but I really don't care, because then when I tell them this, they're just like, no fucking way. And I'll pull it up on Google. So obviously, I guess we look alike, sure, because we got like the same hairdo, we got beard, whatever. So I give them that. But him and I are actually exactly the same age, August 16th, 1989. So I always joke with him saying, hey, if I ever get signed by the Fed, I'll just play it off that I'm like the evil twin brother. And
you were born on the
kind of thing, right?
You were born on the exact same day?
Exact same day, August 16th, 1989. We're both 30 years old, both Leos. So if I ever get signed, I'm telling you, that's the gimmick. Evil twin brother right here. You made it there first because you're the one that was always favored. You know, I already got them ahead. So I tell them that, we just laugh about it. So me personally, like, I don't find that offensive, because I actually find it freaking hilarious, because I thought at first, like when I saw him in Op 1, then I was like, shit, this guy kind of looks like me. Huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just my personality. Like, it takes a lot to really get like under my skin. And I know they don't mean it, like the people who said it, they don't mean it in like a rude way. They come really excited thinking I'm actually him.
Right.
Then I kind of pop their bubble. I'm like, oh, it's not him. And then half the time they still get a shirt for me, knowing it's not Cedric. So whatever, it's cool.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Like I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting you to at least have something in the chamber of like some horrible experience. That makes me genuinely happy, knowing that like that's literally the worst that you've actually encountered, is maybe somebody thinking
there's one fan experience that always pops out, but the ending's terrible because I called out the completely wrong person. This is why when I'm in a match, I'm like, there's no point, because there's so many people, I don't know who it is at the time. So it was at a Death Proof show. It was an outdoor show. It was like a tournament of death. It was like 12 years ago. And ex-girlfriend at the time was at the show. And then same thing, I fought in the first round, and she texted me being like, yo, do you know that guy who's saying this, and sends me like a mountain of text. And I was like, someone saying this? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, no clue. And she goes, well, he's sitting here in this area. So I was like backstage, like pretty livid. I was like 19, 20. So I was like a hothead, right?
Sure.
So I remember my music hit, and I walked right out, like no cue. My music hit, I just walked straight down the ramp, went right up to who I thought was the person talking shit to me. And I just like was just chewing him out. He had a beer in his hand. So I had slapped that beer out of his hand. I grabbed someone else's water, like threw it at him. Like I just chewed him up. So then I go in the ring, about to wrestle Joey Kings, and we're standing across from each other. And he's just like, yo, dude, you good? You all right? Because I was like, fuming.
Sure.
And then the show's finally over afterwards. The fans there, or the guy was there, and it turns out he was like, "Yo, dude, like, I'm just wanted to know, like, it wasn't me. It was the guy over there. Like, I'm a huge fan of yours." So I just felt like the biggest dick, and I was like,
Ah,
"Ah," I'm like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." So I bought him a beer afterwards. We had a beer together
that's
afterwards.
cool, yeah.
It was
And
fine,
and
but
very
like,
death proof of you, I suppose.
yeah, but that show, there's a fan like saying some crazy shit, and then
Yeah.
I unfortunately lost my shit on the wrong person. And I'm like, okay, next time this happens, make sure you fucking know who it actually is instead of just walking to a sea of people. And but he took it like a champ. Like I threw a beer to his hand and threw a water on him, and it could have gotten really bad. Like I was ready to scrap, but he just kind of stood there like, "What the hell, dude? Like I'm your biggest fan. Like I like you a lot." But like I was like, so heated and whatever. Because I asked him, "Yo, what's he wearing?" And he fit the description, so I just came
Yeah.
out and just beeline towards him. Never touched
Well,
him physically. Shouldn't have happened, but there's a time and a place to lose your cool. I should have waited till the show was done. Should have done it like when the cameras were on and everything. But again, 19, young, dumb, haven't done it
well,
again.
I'll tell you that this makes me happy just because I feel, especially like right now, that if your record has been this clean in regards to not having to encounter any of that, I feel pretty good that you're going forward. You're not going to either. You know what I mean? Like,
Hope so, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that, like, you know, if you even hear an ounce of that, like, or even if you look at somebody that just thinking it, like, I've got a feeling that the crowds are going to be just so different when we get back, and are going to be so like just making sure that everybody feels comfortable, you know? And
Well,
I just think that there's going to be a lot less tolerance for that kind of shit. And that makes me real happy, thankfully.
for sure. Well, you know what? You know what really made me feel really comfortable with. Again, I can't speak for every single promotion or the whole world, but what made me really comfortable, like with like the Ontario wrestling scene, was I'm actually wearing the shirt. Was at Alpha One, we created a group called the Oppression. So obviously, you have myself, Lana Knight, Brent Banks, King James, right? So you get the gist of the group. So when we got the idea pitched to us, like me personally, like I never told anyone this at the time because like again, like I just love wrestling and like in my mind, I'm like always try something first before you knock it down. But like I wasn't too down for the idea. I loved who I was working with. I loved the group, loved it, loved the idea. I just didn't like it at the beginning, like because I was like, I know I'm a heel, but like I don't want to come down to the ring and have people like hork in my face or like call me the N word or think we're some crazy hardcore black supremacist group that thinks we legitimately hate all white people. I hope people realize that like this ain't like a real thing. This is
Yeah.
wrestling. It's a show. Boo us, hate us, but we don't need to cross that line. So that first time when we had that like walk when we came out, and I was like, well, here we go. I was like just shitting buckets, and like I remember just having my head down, just like kind of just keeping my ears open, being like, ah, this is the most awkward walk out to the ring ever. And it honestly was great. I can't think of a single time a fan actually just took it over that level. Like they booed at us, they hated us for like the
Yeah.
first bit,
Yeah.
then they ended up kind of started to like us because we're like they just like it. People like sometimes people just like heels, right? But no, they're really, really good with it. They're really cool with it. Had we
Did
have
I,
done this maybe in I don't know, Nashville, maybe it would have been a different situation. Who knows?
did I ever
But
tell you the idea that I had for, cause I'm not a huge, like, I like stables. I don't like
yep,
booking stables because booking stables is very difficult because you're
you need
having
like
to
four
rely
guys to get it.
exactly. Now, I did kind of put this idea in my head, and he heard this song on the radio one day, and he came into to work because we actually worked together too, and he's just like, "Hey, have you heard this song?" And I was just like, "No." He's like, "Dude, you got to check it out. It is awesome." Because me and Tid both love like rap rock stuff. You know what I mean? We
Yeah,
both
yeah,
love
yeah.
punk music, and we both love like a solid rap rock. You know what I mean? Like a good heavy fucking, you know.
Yeah, of course.
So then I go and I check out the song that he recommends to me, and it was literally one of the most powerful songs that I had ever heard in my life, especially in a one-time sitting. And as I'm listening to the lyrics of the song, it's what made it so powerful. And immediately I was just like, holy shit, I want to book an entire stable around the idea of this song.
Oh, you gotta
And
say the song later.
I'm going to tell you the song during the story. I'm going to tell you the
Oh,
idea.
cool.
So the idea was, and I'll tell you the song right now. It was by the name of the band is escaping me. Ice-T's band. His shit. Ice-T, his band. What's Ice-T's band's name? The rap rock. Christ, this is gonna bug me, and everybody's gonna hate me when they're listening to this.
I can
So
quickly split.
please do. So they came out with this unreal song, and it was called "No Lives Matter."
Oh, wow.
And it was strong, bro. And if anything, I recommend going to listen to that song, because when I tell you the idea that we were going to do, like, there's no way in hell I would ever go forward with it now, nor would it be a good idea. Like, I actually genuinely was wondering when I heard all this, like, how the fuck would this have gone over if we had actually moved forward with this? The original plan was I was going to have you and Lionel be like the first two guys to basically just like, we were going to do like these cool vignettes, you know, and then like have you two come out and like kind of give the idea that it was going to be sort of similar to what you guys were doing, like sort of like this like black militant group, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, and kind of give people that idea that like that's where we're going with it, and we're going to build like this weird crew. And then all of a sudden I was going to fucking send Fuerza down, and then all of a sudden you're just like, wait a sec, there's these two black guys and like this Mexican guy. And then all of a sudden you send a white dude down there and you're just like, wait a sec, what is going on? Like, this isn't a black militant group. What is this? And then you just start to realize, oh my God, this is like an entire group of just all the ethnicities that you could possibly think of in this little small crew. And they're literally beating the shit out of everybody. And they are literally trying to tell you, no lives matter. Like, it doesn't matter who the fuck you are. It's just like the way that the world views us. None of us fucking matter. And that was going to be the entire base of the gimmick. So to look at all of this,
I personally like that gimmick. I don't think it'd be crossing the line because it's still a show. So
yeah.
it's a and us saying that when we're saying no lives matter, we're pretty much referring to the other workers and the wrestlers in the background, meaning like, I think it's still a sweet gimmick after all this blows up, personally. Like, you have like the right people and you book it properly.
I'm sure that it probably could be.
Depends how it's booked, though.
I don't think that's the attention that I want for our group. And I kind of just blew it. I might have just thrown it out there, but
before all this, I'd be super pumped for that. Like, think about it, before all this happened, that'd be like so much fun, because it's like the NWO. You're just like that badass rebel group, tear down the whole ring, just make a mess. It's cool. It's fun, right?
And that was kind of the premise behind it, you know. And then I genuinely think that the only reason why I never actually moved forward with it or pulled the trigger on it was just because, as you know, trying to get a hold of Lionel can be a very daunting task, let alone just trying to get him locked down for dates and stuff.
Lionel!
I love Lionel. He's my boy. But we all know that Lionel's Lionel, you know. He's got his own thing going on, and Lionel lives in his own world, and God bless him for it. That's what makes him the guy that he is. And you know what? To this day, I've never heard a single bad word about Lionel Knight, and if I ever did, I'd probably fight that person. So
all you gotta do is just have a stockpile of payday bars, and that's the backup plan. His favorite chocolate bar, payday.
Well, did I ever tell you that he tried to fight the yellow Power Ranger for me? That's a legit story. No. So like, okay, so we had to do this Comic-Con show, and I was put in charge by somebody whose name I'm not going to mention because fuck that guy. And I had to book like a shit ton of shows, like over the course of like this day. It was like a 3 or 4 show deal. And like, they were all hour-long shows, and it was like an actual Comic-Con. Like, there was, I remember walking with Brady, and Brady was like, he's a big Star Wars and Star Trek nerd guy. And he's introducing me to this older man that he's like going nuts for. Brady doesn't mark out for like anybody. And then all of a sudden, as I'm talking to this guy, he's just like, oh yeah, you a wrestler, huh? He's just like, I used to box back in my day. And I'm like, oh dude, I still box now. I got my gear in my car. You want to spar? And then all of a sudden, Brady just looks at me with like this death stare, and he's just like, "You just fucking tried to fight Boba Fett. What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know what a Boba Fett is. I'm sorry."
Oh,
I'm like,
how did you?
"He brought up he's a boxer. I was just trying to help." So,
Oh,
long
man.
story short, so we get into there was this gentleman who was causing a scene, and I had to go in and take care of it. Next thing I know, he like punched me in the throat, and I had to de-escalate the situation.
Yep.
And it turned out that the gentleman was a little bit less than all there, and we didn't know until after the fact. But you know, it's one of those. It's a complete self-defense thing.
Of course.
The only time
Yeah.
the only time I actually hit him and threw a strike was when he bit me, and it was only because I heard my coach in my head, because it was the weirdest thing. He had literally just told me this week, like the same week as this all happened. He's just like, and he's like, his exact quote was, if a human being bites you, that man deserves to die. and I wasn't, that just rang in my head, and I'm like, I'm not gonna obviously like hurt this guy, but like as soon as he bit me, I just was like, ah, fuck you, and like I just kind of like threw him like two lefts real quick, and like I saw this dude's face like explode, and I immediately like pulled back off of the third one. I was like, ugh. So I took myself off of the final show from wrestling because there was like police, like a legit police and security situation that we had to deal with. And so all of a sudden I'm like trying to book the show. I'm trying to put all this stuff together. And then I got the show going. I've got the show started. And then finally there's this police officer who's been wanting to talk to me for like an hour. And then finally we both laugh at each other. And we're just like, okay, let's go chat right now. So finally, like we literally get talking for all of 2 minutes, not even. Yep. And then all of a sudden I just hear and see this commotion. And I just hear yelling and blah, 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 blah. And then I just see Steve Brown picking up Lionel and just carrying him on his shoulder and just walking him this way. And he is just screaming at this fucking woman. And I don't know what is going on. So like I go to Lionel and I'm just like at this point I asked the police officer, I'm like, can you give me a second? And he even laughs. He's like, go handle your business. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I walk over to him and I like put my arm around him and I like give him a hug and I calm him down. And I'm like, Lionel, talk to me. What's going on? Why are you yelling at this lady?
Yeah.
Fuck that woman, Ben. Fuck that woman. And I'm like, what did she do? She said that you were an idiot and that you were a fucking asshole for doing what you did. And you know what? Fuck that bitch. And I'm just like,
oh, damn.
Bro, that's why you're freaking out? Yeah, fuck that lady. She has no right to fucking say you. She don't know you. She don't know what the fuck you did. And I'm like, I love you. I love you. I like had to like calm him and I'm like, I love you, bro. I love you.
I was expecting something else while they were freaking out.
So then all of a sudden I'm just like, who the fuck is this lady? And it turns out that she was either the yellow or the pink Power Ranger or one of the two. Don't know. But all I know is that at the end of the day, I had this really badass story that Lionel tried to fight a real Power Ranger because that Power Ranger called his friend an idiot. So,
oh my God, Lionel.
That's my boy.
Why you love him. That's why you love him.
That's why I was like, if anybody ever says a bad word about Lionel, I will throw hands with that person because
he's good people. He's one of the realest guys in the business, and those are like really hard to find these days. But he's one of the good ones for sure.
He really is. He really is, man. And I hope that we can start getting him back here once things, kind of go back to normal. But who knows what the fuck Lionel's up to? I should probably give that guy a call. I miss that guy.
He'd be down. Trust me, he'd be down because I think during because he had a bunch of shoulder was just fucking with him. Like it was even before this COVID happened, it was just like not the best. And the shoulder, shoulder injuries, they suck.
Yeah.
Like you do one weird thing, you get a bag out of the car, and your shoulder's fucked for 2 months. Like shoulder injuries are really shitty. So like I feel for guys. Like yes, it's not like a leg or your neck, but like when you're doing rolls or face bumps, like it's your arm going down. So I get why a lot of guys would be like hesitant with the shoulder because like that shit never ever feels the same, in my opinion, from my experience. Like after you've torn it or micro torn it once, it'll never feel normal again.
No, just because there's way too much going on in there. Like it's not just like a muscle. There is fucking everything, joints, you name it. It's just there's way too goddamn much going on in a shoulder. So yeah, shoulders you got to really really take care of, and those are not something to fuck with at all. Now, one thing I do want to ask you, Justin, is just because like I don't want to go too deep into this, just because this is obviously your how you make your money, and I don't want you to explain all of your trade secrets and whatnot, but like what advice, I guess I'm going to change the question around, what advice can you give to somebody in regards to training and dieting during this like really weird time right now? Like what can you tell somebody who maybe might be having a bit of a rough go? Normally I ask like what you're doing and what you're eating, but again, that people can pay you for that. Go look up Justin Ellis on Facebook. He's a personal trainer. He is literally one of the most gifted guys that I know when it comes to dieting, training, the whole shebang. Actually, as a matter of fact, one of our students, Jamie Franchuk, who's the ring announcer for CBPW, uses Justin Sane as a personal trainer in regards to just workouts, his diets, the whole shebang. Actually, I was just talking to Jamie yesterday and was telling me that you're going to get him set back up.
He's doing awesome. He's doing great right now.
He's doing so good, man. And it's yeah, and like he blew me away just because like he told me straight up that like he's like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it, because I'm sick and tired of being the way that he was. And he took everything that I told him to do and he did it. And like, it was so amazing going in and to see him like on a like at least once a week when you go in and see him, he's like, coach Ben, I dropped this amount of weight. Like, oh man, like, thank you very much. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're doing the work. I'm just providing you the tools. You're the one that's actually going out there to use them. So like, good for you, but, so like what kind of advice can you give to just like somebody who's having a bit of a rough time, who maybe, doesn't have the money per se to get you to provide and like, a complete diet and training regimen for them?
For sure. Because like realistically, every single person's body is different. So what works for me may not work for someone else. I've had people literally try and do exactly what I eat, even after I've said, no, it's not going to work, and like they'll do it and then it backfires horribly on them, just different body types. So really, like, during this time, like the best thing to do, honestly, like it's easier said than done, but you shouldn't be shy or embarrassed. Like ask someone who you know personally, myself, or someone who's in like the fitness industry, or like your wrestling coach or trainer or somebody. Just ask them like, hey, I put on this much weight in this amount of time, or I want to get stronger here and there. What are some things I can kind of do to start going? And the people who are actually serious, aka Jamie, they will listen to you and be consistent. If you're consistent, shit's gonna happen. Whether it's happening slow, whether it's happening fast, if you're consistent, at least it's consistently happening slowly and not happening at all. So like if you're completely lost, ask someone just for like some pointers. Like, to me, like a good trainer is not gonna say, like if someone were to message me, people message me every day, hey, I'm gonna do a 5K run today at noon. What should I have for breakfast? To me, I'm a huge douchebag if I'm like, well, you should buy a program for me and I should do this. It takes 2 minutes out of my time to be like, oh, you're going for a run? Cool. What are your goals? This. All right, you should have like definitely some carbs, whatever. Took no time out of my freaking day. Who cares? And then in hindsight, it could be months, could be a year down the line, I'll actually probably end up training that person, or they'll actually buy a program. Like, to get people started, it shouldn't have to cost anything. So just don't be scared to ask. Like everyone's just completely different. Like don't be scared to ask if you don't know. Ask, because last thing you want to do is you don't want to hurt yourself, and you don't want to be wasting your time training for say 6 months thinking you knew what you're doing, but you're just wasting 6 months of the time.
Yeah.
Just ask, get help, but just stay consistent. But number one pointers: stay away from sugar, try to avoid junk food, get your sleep, definitely get your water. People forget how important water is. It is the best, cheapest supplement out there. Water, freaking drink it. Like big time fat burner. Your muscles are 80% of water. If you're not hydrated, how do you expect them to work? How do you expect to burn calories? How do you expect to burn fat? Super important. That's the number one thing right there, actually. Drink your freaking water, and then we'll talk. If you're not drinking your water or being hydrated, shit happens. Like nothing happens. Like it's very slowed down. Or you're cramping every 2 seconds because you're dehydrated, especially in the summer. Oh, I could rant about people not drinking enough water for days. Got me started.
Bro, it's literally all I drink is coffee and water, and then like I guess the odd White Claw, but it's kind of water anyway. So the funny thing is I was actually going to ask you this: do you have anybody like on YouTube that you watch, like fitness channel wise? Because like there's actually a couple of guys that like I'll watch just to get like different perspectives on like different workouts and just different diet techniques and stuff like that. There's actually this guy that I was wanted to tell you about if you didn't know who he is, because I message him from time to time just because the way this dude trains isn't the way that I train. But I've picked up a lot of cooking secrets from this guy. It's just a lot of stuff that I've picked up from his videos. Funny enough, he's actually a Windsor guy, and his name is, I fucking hope I don't fuck this up. His name is Fuad Abid.
Oh my God, Fuad, huge bodybuilder, dude.
Yes, do you know him?
I used to. I'm not saying I used to work out with him, but he used to go to Good Life. I used to like work out when he'd be working out, kind of thing. He used to go to World's Gym. Yeah, huge dude, massive. He walks around like off season at like 320 pounds.
Yeah, Fuad, like that. Yeah, that's him in season. This is what he looks like, I believe, like just regularly.
Oh yeah, like easily 320 pounds. Super nice guy though, man. Because I remember he would come in at like 5 a.m. and just be on that Stairmaster for like an hour and a half every day, and it just looked like someone took a bucket and just dumped it on the steps. Obviously, that was before his competitions would be coming out, right?
Yeah.
But super nice guy, down to earth, really humble.
I messaged him the one time and I was just like, hey man, you realize that there are like there's stacks of money waiting for you in pro wrestling if you ever decided to do this, right? And and his response to me was, he's just like, I'm not really interested in wrestling. And then I was just like, dude, if you ever did, there's this guy in your town, and he cut me off, and he was just like, I will never ever work for that guy. And I was just like, all right. That was, I'm like, I didn't follow up. I was just like, okay, well, I like wrestling. So if you ever want to, like, and I train wrestling. So if you ever want to just, I'll hook it up, like whatever. But like, I love looking up dudes like that just because I've learned so much, just different stuff. Because again, I don't train the way that this dude does, but I've been able to pick up a lot of different like side stuff that helps me with what I do,
I wouldn't have gotten to I don't think I would have achieved this like in the beginning if I didn't work out with someone who's a crap ton bigger and stronger than me. Because like I told you before, when I did my co-op at Good Life, like one of the trainers that was helping me out, and he was huge, like 300 pounds, but like solid. And just one day he was just like, hey, you want to do some bench press with me? And I'm just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then, like, as you're working out, we're talking about food, and he's like, oh, what are you eating today? I'm like, oh, I eat a lot. Like, obviously not a lot compared to what he wanted me to eat. Yeah. And then like just seeing him lift, you're motivated to want to lift more. Like he'll keep putting on a plate on the bench, and I'm like, well, frig, I can't put on another plate, but like, let me just put on a 10 then. So I was still like pushing myself to my limits. And then when he left Good Life, my workouts weren't that good because I wasn't pushing myself. I would just do the same comfortable weight. I was still getting results, but I got like the fastest and the best results working out with someone who is a lot stronger and a lot bigger than me. Hands down. They're trying to play keep up. Like they're pushing you like 10 sets of freaking whatever craziness it is. And I didn't want to be a bitch and be like, no, I can't do it. So I still freaking did it, and it worked.
Yeah. Well, that's how you get better at anything, especially with athletically. Like you've got to just surround yourself with monsters. Like, I mean, if you're not the worst guy in the room, you're doing something wrong. Like I know that sounds kind of strange, but like you have to surround yourself with like fucking talented human beings that can kick your ass. Yeah, because if you're the best guy in the room, you need to fucking move rooms, because how are you going to get any better?
Yep, exactly. Like there's so many of my buddies. So I'm like, yo, man, let's go to the gym and work out. And like a lot of them are just like, I don't want to work out with you. You're going to kill me in the gym. You're way stronger than me. And I'm like, dude, that's the point. Yes. Like, I'm the one with the disadvantage. I'm helping you. Fuck, let's go.
Yeah, you've got to bring yourself down to their level in like in a weird way. So yeah, 100%.
I think there's an advantage when you're working out or even wrestling with someone who has way more experience than you. You're always going to learn as much as the person who has more experience than you in that room, right? So
yes,
surround yourself with knowledge and whatnot.
And that's advice that I would like to give anybody that's watching this right now, just because I'm not going to call anybody out, but like last weekend I had Aiden Prince and my buddy Josh, that is he's been my day one training partner, kickboxing in London. And like,
Yep.
he's just a guy who we had the same body types. Like we've been beating the shit out of one another for about 12 years now. So they came down to my place, and like I took them through a bit of a workout, like just outdoors, just to kind of get their lungs back going and just to kind of get them back into the swing of things. And because Prince was on his way back through Windsor, so I told him, like, no, you come here and you hang out with me for a couple hours, just because we're allowed to now. So we're going to go get an outdoor workout in. And, you know, like, you start to realize really quickly that, like, you have to surround yourself with better people. Like I asked a couple of like younger guys, I'm like, hey, come work out with us. And they're just like, nah, we're not ready. And we're not at that point to come and work out with you guys. And it's like,
I hate that answer.
It's like,
when are you gonna be ready?
Now is the time, because like we're getting back into the swing of things. Like, I'm out there pounding pavement still, but like, if you put me into a gym situation and you put me in the ring, I'm going to blow up just as bad as anybody else. Like, my cardio might be better, but like, that's still not, that's not bumping, getting the fuck up, jumping, all that other stuff. Like, there's in-ring cardio is a whole different ball game. You know that, right? So.
And with that, I feel people get mixed up. A lot of people in their head, when they go to work out with a friend, in their mind, they're like, I don't want to work out with this person unless I know I can do that workout very well and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
My opinion, the world of Just Insane, newsflash, if any workout feels comfortable to you or easy to you, you're wasting your fucking time. Unless it's that very first one, or maybe you're trying a new movement, or maybe you're warming up, or maybe it's your active rest day. If you're not dying, and it just makes no sense to me. I'm not saying go till you puke or pass out. But like, it shouldn't feel like that. Like today, I thought my boys at the hills. I'm like, yo guys, timer's on, 60 minutes of hills. Everyone's like, I can't do that. And I'm like, sure you can. If you take as many breaks as you fucking need. We're doing hills for 60 minutes. You can go to your car in 60 minutes. Some of us got 60, some got 70, some got 14. They still work their asses off to their best of their ability in that hour. Right?
Exactly.
Like, no, the hills are never going to be easy. I'll never ever do hills being like, oh, that felt easy. They never feel easy. Like, the recovery time feels better. Yes,
Yep.
of course. Like, it shouldn't. I don't know. To me, it's not a workout. You're not going to benefit from it if it's a walk in the park.
100%.
So,
if anybody, like I said, if anybody is watching this and you ever feel like, oh, I'm not going to be like able to hold or like hang with these guys that want to work out with me, they're asking you to work out with them for a reason. Like, we all know where everybody's at. We want you to come with us so we can bring you up. We're going to try to, it's going to be hard for you, but we're not going to like, we're not out there to like snipe you. You know what I mean? Like, we're there to try to bring you up. Like, and it's great just because, like, even getting messages from like Aiden Prince, and he's just like, dude, you've got me back on like this. Like, I needed what you did for me this past weekend, because, you know, it's easy to fall into that fucking rut right now. You know, and Prince is my boy, you know, and like the fact that I was able to help him out and just kind of get him back into the swing of things is great. And here's what pissed me off when I was working out with him, though, is he's just like, oh, I'm fat, and I blah, 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 blah. I used to have abs, and not kidding. He started the workout and he was fat, right? We finished the workout and he lifted his shirt and this motherfucker had an 8-pack back. Like, after one fucking workout. Now, it was a thick boy 8-pack, but it was fucking there. And like,
ectomorph genetics, probably.
God damn.
Different body types, right?
Fucking good for him, though, man. Because if I could do that, God damn it, I'd be so happy. So, Justin, sure. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into the rapid fire questions portion of the podcast here. So I'm going to ask you probably about 10 questions here. And it's just one of those, you know how these shit works. Like, it's just, you give me the first answer that's off the top of your head. You don't need to explain it. It's just kind of, let's hear what the first thing you come up with is whenever I ask these questions. Okay.
I'm so bad at these. So here we go.
Perfect. All right. What's a favorite match that you've been a part of?
Favorite match I've been a part of? Honestly, there's so many. I'm going to say it was against Anthony Fiasco, Civic Center, Brantford. There's about 3,000 people there. Hulk Hogan was on the show. Scott Steiner, Kevin Nash. That to me, that was like phenomenal experience, and it's probably like the first time ever that I can think of to this day where you have a match, and like at least in my head, everything went like how it should have gone. Because no matter how many times you call a match, it's never gonna fucking go the way you want it to go. There's always just one little thing for the most part. One little thing. But I was like, the first, like the one time I remember, it was just like solid, smooth, felt great, and even Brooke Hoban gave me like little props afterwards, and oh, cool. And then years down the line, I realized I'm a huge fan of her. But that was at the time. Oh, cool. But yeah, because she was there at ringside, like obviously because like her dad was there and stuff like that. But that was pretty cool.
That's right. I do remember that. Who is not on TV right now who should be on TV?
Who is not on TV right now who should be on TV? Ooh. In terms of everything, work ethic, just everything has like the it package, total package, in my opinion, and I really want to wrestle this guy when I get back. Daniel Garcia. Hands down.
Could not agree more. I fucking love that kid so goddamn much, and I'm so happy that he's come to kind of be a part of our squad because god damn, that kid is solid. I love him. Who's your favorite band?
Favorite band? Oh, Atreyu.
Get out of here. I wouldn't have expected that.
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge metalhead deep down. That's all I listen to when I work out.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so who's your favorite sports team then? I already know the answer to this, I feel like.
Oh, like the Toronto Raptors?
Yeah, I kind of figured as much. You did you did bear the celebration victory.
However, I'm a huge LeBron fan. I'll admit it. Wherever Team LeBron goes, let's go that team.
I understand.
It's number one, but yeah. LeBron fan. Whatever team he's on, just gonna bring him to the finals / the playoffs. He's amazing. He's the greatest player. Wherever, it doesn't matter where he plays. I'm cheering for that team.
I can understand that. That's fair. Who is your favorite opponent that you've worked with thus far?
Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper, hands down. That was such a fun feud, and we didn't get to finish the feud because he got signed. Super happy for him, but like, we had so much fun crap set up. But I'd say Brody Lee. We had, my opinion, like I thought we meshed really well. David versus Goliath kind of thing.
Brody Lee gave me camera time when I was an extra for WWE, so I will always love that guy so much.
Yo, he's a great guy. He's a generally like awesome dude too.
Him and I caught up like earlier in the day, and when he found out that I was going to be involved in their segment, he like as I'm running down the fucking ramp and I'm scared shitless because I've never done this before, and you just
the doctor.
Like, yeah, and your whole world opens up, bro. Like, cause like when you're you have you done it before?
I've never done one of the no, not for them, no.
Oh shit, okay.
Stuff for them.
So when you're down there, like I was supposed to run and I was supposed to like go a certain way, and I was supposed to actually go and take care of Xavier Woods, and but the producer told us straight up, they're like, you don't leave a man behind. So if you don't get to the person you're supposed to go to whoever's available, because no doctor would just skip a dude. You know what I mean? It makes sense. Yeah. So I'm running. I'm booking down there as like not fast, but like, I mean business. I'm like, I got to get to my fucking guy, blah, 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 blah. And because me and Brody had caught up earlier, I'm running down there, and all of a sudden Brody just gets in front of me, dude. And he just giving me this look, and he's just like, motherfucker, take what I'm giving you. Like I could see it in his eyes. And I was just like, oh no, please. Like I start selling it, and I start going the other way, which is how I ended up with Kofi Kingston. Which in a weird way kind of worked out better because me and Coach ended up with this fucking phenomenal story because like he's down there selling this like massive beatdown, and him and me are literally in tears crying because I didn't know what to fucking do. I'm like trying to be a doctor, and I'm like, I don't know what to be a doctor. And then all of a sudden I'm like, sorry, man. I'm like, I'm trying, but like, are you okay? Is this a fucking really weird time to tell you that like, your gear is dope, bro? Because like I just got I lost like everything in his gear and just like how cool and designed it was, and I was just like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, dude, you got dope gear. And like you can't see it on camera, but he goes from like, oh, I'm dying, and just turns into me and like starts crying, laughing, and like it was just a wrap from then. But like But Brody, if it wasn't for Brody doing that, I would have never gotten that moment because like he's aces. I love that guy.
Yeah.
So happy that he's doing what he's doing now, just because like it's such a
They missed
cool way
out.
to showcase him like as like this like well-spoken fucking monster.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe missed out on my opinion. They missed out on him. Like
they sure did, man. Okay, so back to this. So what's the biggest goal that you've set for yourself that you've actually accomplished?
it was literally after I tore my ACL, which was 3 years ago, I guess, 3 summers ago. When I tore my ACL, I told myself, like, just reality set in. And I'm like, how much longer am I going to do this? Am I really making any progress? And I really started to doubt myself. Like, I went into like a really dark phase after that. But like, my first goal was like, if I don't get like a tryout or like a TV taping or more bookings in the States within 2 years, then it's probably not for me. And I should probably just hang it up or just not take it as seriously and just wrestle once a month kind of thing. And then sure enough, within that year, I got the call and got the tryout, and then that just put the motivation fire right back on. So I kind of just felt like I had a purpose again. I kind of just felt lost, like after just being injured, you don't want people to forget about you kind of thing. So
Yeah.
there's just there's a shitty year, but then it just turned out for the good in the end.
So then what's the next goal on your list that you want to accomplish?
Obviously after the first tryout, I'm still not signed. So why not go for another tryout, right?
Is that the end goal? Is WWE or?
Pardon?
Is WWE the end goal for you?
The end goal for me, I would like it to be, but like I'm obviously not opposed to AEW like at all. Like at all. Like I would love to make it like as far as possible. Like as far as possible. And it'd be awesome during this time if wrestling was happening, because now would be the time to just travel and wrestle everywhere. But of course, traveling shut down right now. But I would love to go to Japan. Like even doing an Impact would be awesome. So get Impact taping or being part of Impact would be awesome. But just baby steps, just taking it as it goes. Obviously, this whole thing just puts a big halt in my moving forward. But I would love another tryout. I just love to just see where this takes me, just see how far it can get. Just take this body to the ground.
So what do you say what's your proudest moment outside of wrestling then?
Proudest moment outside of wrestling? Honestly, I'm going to say probably getting engaged, because I was definitely one of those dudes who would date a girl and just be so bored and over it within like 6 months to a year, so if it even got that long.
Yeah.
And never pictured like marriage for myself or like anything or ever settling down at all. So like for me, it may not seem like a big deal to like anyone else, but for me, I think that's like a huge accomplishment, because I finally found like the woman in my dreams I want to be with forever. And I don't regret a damn thing. So if wrestling didn't work out, like one of the biggest loves in my life, I at least know I have her, and we're gonna go to the grave together.
Hell yeah,
hopefully,
man.
much more years to go, obviously, before that.
And you definitely found a good one for you. So that's awesome. I thought that was going to be your answer, so I'm glad that it was. So lastly, what I'm going to ask you is, what's the best piece of advice that you can give to somebody that wants to do what you do?
Like wrestle or a trainer or
whatever, man. Wants to be Justin Sane. They look at you as their idol, and they want to do what Justin Sane does. What advice do you give them?
The best advice I can give you is you have to pretend. You got to be selfish. If you got a goal and you want to be the best at what you do, or just be the best version of yourself, you have to be selfish and put yourself first. So, for example, you have parents with a lot of kids and this and that, and like kids are obviously always first. But if you have like a good relationship with your spouse, you got to put time in for yourself. Like, look after the kids. Let your wife go to the gym. Vice versa. You got to put time in for yourself. Invest in yourself and challenge yourself. Like, don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Everyone gets so discouraged when they're just like seeing what everyone else is doing. Like, for example, someone who squats, say, 3 plates. They're super pumped up. Yeah, I can squat 3 plates. And then they see someone squatting 5 plates. And then they're just all upset about it. They're like, no, I'll never squat that. Why do I even bother? Then they just fall off the wagon. Dude, who fucking cares? Who cares what they're doing? If you focus on what you're doing, your body is going to be the best version of itself. So you're really your own competitions. Whenever I make these workouts, I always time most of them because I'm not to compete with like my friends or whatever. I don't care what anyone else's time is. I'm just trying to beat my time. So to stay consistent, stay true to yourself, and just try and be the best version of you that you could be. Be selfish. It's you. It's your body. You only got one body, one chance. Don't fuck it up. Be selfish. You're allowed to be selfish when it just comes to your general health and well-being.
Couldn't agree with that more, man. I tell my students the same thing. And, your biggest competition is the person that stares in the mirror,
Yep.
You can't compare yourself to anybody else because no two body types are the same. Yeah, like you said before, everybody's different. You have to find what works for you, and you have to be able to challenge yourself to be able to get better. Again, people can help you all they want, and they can provide you all the tools that they want to provide you with. But if you're not out there actively using them, and you're not actively out there trying to even sharpen those tools, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. And I'm really glad that you're kind of on the same wavelength with that. So,
oh, for sure. Like you can do anything you set your mind out to do, but like it still has to be like realistic. Like I know I will never be a world's strongest man competitor. Maybe, but I might be dead just trying to hold 400 pounds on this frame. But at least I went out trying, right? But like
I can see you enjoying the process of at least the calories portion of it anyway.
Oh,
but yeah.
But when I was younger, I wanted to be a sumo wrestler because I thought it was like the easiest job in the world. I was like, all I gotta do is eat, push someone out of a circle. This is the best job in the world.
That's hilarious. Justin, how I always wrap these interviews up, and I giggle every time I say always, because we're literally in fucking episode 5, like as if we're, far down the road here. But I like to end these interviews by asking, just because, I've been asking you a shit ton of questions here. I've been putting you on the hot seat. I like to, just because, again, this is getting to know your friends style podcast. Is there anything that you have like question wise for me, or is there anything that you want to know about me that I can sit in the hot seat and we can reverse roles here for a sec?
Sure. So with you, I always got it mixed up. Like I didn't know whether you started doing the MMA stuff or if you dabbled into wrestling first and then went into MMA to kind of train and then go back into the wrestling. So what did you gravitate towards first?
So I was pro wrestling first. So there was literally, I don't have any other memories of wanting to do anything else. I just wanted to be Hulk Hogan. And the funny thing is I didn't even want to be a pro wrestler. I wanted to be Hulk Hogan. Like I think I've told this story like later before, like in a previous episode, but like it tripped me the fuck out once I got to training, and like they were just like, all right, so who are you going to be? And then I was just like, oh shit, Hulk Hogan's taken. Like it was like the same thing. It was almost like the same reaction you had when like you were in training. You're like, oh my God, this is a work. Like what the fuck?
I never thought of a gimmick either.
I never considered it, because like I was always like, okay, I'm gonna be like this fucking hero, and I'm gonna be the guy, and like I'm gonna whatever. So I was always into pro wrestling first. I actually started training when I was 12 at Hart Brothers School of Wrestling, but then it was only a few weeks long, just because my mom found out about the bullshit that they were pulling. And then when I was 16, I ended up training again at this place called Camp Martell in Hamilton. So I did that until shit. When was that? That was 2000 and September 11, 2001 is when I started training in Hamilton.
Did you train
I don't know how
at all?
I never trained with Dewey. I got to meet and speak with Dewey a number of times before he passed. I actually went to Dewey's funeral. And he was a super nice guy to me. But no, I never got to train with him. But when I started wrestling in 2001, I got to 2009, and there was like this really weird, like I was just burnt out, and like I didn't want to play the political game to try to get better. I wasn't kissing anybody's ass. It was around that time when I started seeing the the dark side of some of the people in the business,
Yeah.
that it was right then and there. And I was just like, I got to get the fuck away from this. Like, I'm not happy with my career trajectory. I'm killing my body, and I'm getting lucky to make $40 a match. And it's just like, this fucking mat's not adding up for the amount of years that I've put into this, and the amount of kilometers I've put onto my body as well. And so I was like, I just stopped. And then like I was sitting at home like 3 months later, I got fat, and I was just watching The Ultimate Fighter on TV. And I was like, I got to do something like to get better and like kind of get rid of this grossness that I had kind of let back onto my body.
Yeah.
So long story short, I walked down to this place that I found out that there was like this guy that fought in the UFC, owned the gym in town, went down there thinking that I was going to be able to hold my own. And I just walked in, and Mark Hominick was hitting pads with the boxing coach. And it literally sounded like a fucking machine gun going off. Like, and just, and like, just the way that he would like project his voice. Like, cause every time he hit, it was like, hi, 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 hi. And I was like, I don't want any of fucking this problem whatsoever. So I humbled myself real quick. And again, I allowed myself to go through that whole process. As a matter of fact, it's a really interesting story. And if you want to hear about it, go back and watch the episode with Chris Horodecki, just because it will it's the shorter story into the longer story.
Okay.
But man, like, they did not want me there originally, because they found out that I was like, because I was trying to tell them I was a pro wrestler, so that way they could kind of understand how to train me. And then once they just that was a bad move. They because Brock Lesnar was a thing at the time, and was like kind of coming up the ranks, and was like, they thought that pro wrestlers were starting to try to come into their territory and take over. So like they got very territorial at the time. Yeah. So long story short, they accepted me, thankfully, because of Horodecki and Sean Tompkins being fucking angels of human beings. But then once I kind of got, about 5 years into that, like I realized that I wasn't going to fight anybody. Like I had gotten a chance to run the gym. I'd had a few kickboxing fights at the time, and I did love doing it, and I still love doing it. Like with every fiber of my being, like they are still my family. That everybody from that gym, I still kickbox like at least once a day. Like I stay active. I keep myself sharp, right? But the pro wrestling bug just came back, and I had to go back, and it kind of reverts back to Tid kind of putting the bug in my ear before, when he was coming to help me train with for my kickboxing fight. And then coming down to those conflict shows, and then running into you guys, and like seeing this like new crop of guys that are out there, and like not just a new crop of guys, but being able to see my friends that once I left, they're like the ones that were down here with me, and now they're up here and they're running shit. And it was just this real motivating, like cool thing to watch. And I was like, maybe I can be a part of this again. So that's kind of how I started to get back into it. And then next thing I know, you own a gym. Next thing you know, you own a promotion. And next thing you know, you're working for fucking Impact, and you're doing like this really weird shit. Life's just got a strange way of working itself out. But for me, it was definitely pro wrestling, and then MMA just kind of wandered into my life. And it was the happiest wandering into my life that has probably ever happened. I've met people that family for life, the best way that
in a sense, kind of helped give you a gimmick, and it probably helped your in-ring cardio a shit ton doing MMA for those couple of years.
It did. So, and you know what, I can actually pinpoint the moment that I remember where I was like, fuck, if I get back into pro wrestling, I'd be good at this, like even better at this than I was before. So my coach, Chris Clements, who was a UFC fighter, he was getting ready for his fight against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, which is a name that I know everybody knows. And I was there with him when he got the call, actually, from his agent. And he just looked at me after he got off the phone, and he was like, he's like laughing and kind of like nervous to me. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, good news and bad news. Like, okay, well, what's up? Good news, I'm fighting Stephen Thompson. And I'm like, that's the good news? That sounds horrible. What's the bad news? He's like, you're Stephen Thompson for the next 10 weeks. It's like,
oh.
So
I take it back.
So, right. So I got my ass kicked, man, like horribly, and he beat my ass on like a like on a regular basis. And there was just one time where we were in the cage and we were sparring, and like he was on top of me, and like I was on all fours, and he basically was like, just, he had me straddled in like a typical wrestling, like an amateur wrestling position, and he's just like feeding me like, you know, shots, light shots, but shots nonetheless. And I'm sitting there and I'm like trying to like figure out how the fuck do I get out of this. And then for some reason, my pro wrestling instinct just kind of kicked in. And I just remembered, I'm like, well, how the fuck would I reverse a waist lock in pro wrestling? So I was just like, fuck it. And I literally just like how I would teach somebody to reverse a waist lock in like just chain wrestling. I got into his hips and I fucking shot out. And next thing I know, it was the first time I'd ever reversed something on him where I'm in an offensive maneuver. And then as I'm sitting there fucking trying to throw, I'm throwing shots on him now. And I was just like, holy shit. If I ever got back into pro wrestling, I'd be so much doper at this as I'm hitting him. And I'm like, because I was like, if I can figure this out now, and I use pro wrestling to get out of a real fight situation, all of this is starting to fucking crumble in and make sense again. So then that's why I got back into pro wrestling. And like, that's why I just really enjoy the technical aspect of it now, because I've had my ass kicked by world class caliber professional ass kickers. And when I was able to use pro wrestling to get out of a fucking beating, I was like, oh, there's something there. And then it just kind of like lit that fire. And I was like, okay, there it is. That was the thing that I needed this entire 5 years that I took off from this. I needed to find that fucking fire. And as weird as it sounds, it was getting my ass whooped and being able just to reverse one offensive maneuver that entirely set me in. It was just like, I'm going to be okay. I can go do this again. I feel comfortable, you know? So long story to kind of get to that. But I mean,
it all plays up. Everything happens for a reason. That's
absolutely
great.
It does, man. So I appreciate that question, dude. That was a really good question. Thank you very much. So we are going to wrap this up though, Justin. One thing that we can do is you can find the show, the Big Ben's and Friend podcast, on Twitter and Instagram at Big Ben AF Podcast, as well as on Facebook under Big Ben and Friends Podcast. You can find us on YouTube by searching the show name. And because we don't have enough subscribers yet to actually have a channel name, like a youtube.com/Big Ben AF Podcast, because we need at least 100 subscribers. So if y'all could do me that wonderful favor, just smash that subscribe button just real quickly. I would really appreciate it. Because the funny thing is if you actually search Big Ben and Friends podcast on YouTube, and like, you know, normally there's like a list that comes down like, oh, did you mean this? There's literally something that pops up and it says, did you mean Big Ben, no friends? It's a fucking horrible rib. I feel like a dickhead every time I fucking see it. So if you guys could just help me not feel like an asshole, I would appreciate that.
Sure.
You can find the audio version of this show on Anchor, on Spotify. Basically, Anchor distributes the show to Spotify, iTunes, and everywhere that you can find podcasts on an audio platform. So as soon as this drops, you'll be able to find that as well. You can find me personally on my social medias at Big Ben is Angry on Instagram, Twitter. You can find Crossbody Pro Wrestling and the Academy social medias all at the same place at CBPW Academy. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Crossbody Pro Wrestling Academy, because we have the right amount of subscribers to have a YouTube name for that. You can also find us on Independent Wrestling TV. Use the code Crossbody to get 5 free days. What we're doing is we're taking all of the money that we make from the views of independentwrestling.tv this month. We're combining that with a project that we have created, the two of us, along with Shogun and Blake 182. You could support this project by buying the Black Lives Matter shirt, both the black version and the white version. You can get the Justin Sane shirt that we have just put out. You can get my shirt that we have just put out. You can also get the new Madman Fulton shirt that we have just dropped, because he wanted to get in on this and he wanted to make sure that we are able to provide as much profit to this organization as much as possible. Fulton, none of the boys are taking a cent from any of this month. We're giving everything to blacklivesmatter.ca, which is actually something that Justin chose personally and we all got on board with. So please go there, grab as many shirts as you can this month. Buy them for your friends. Buy them for yourself. They're great looking t-shirts. You're supporting a great cause. So please go do that and support this wonderful thing that all of us guys are doing our best to help out right now during this really troubling time, you know? So do you have any final comments, Justin?
Not really. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Justin Sane Train. Fan page on Facebook, The Night Train Justin Sane. Same as YouTube.
Hell yeah. And please go out of your way to message this man if you're having any troubles whatsoever. If you feel like you need motivation fitness wise, if you feel like you need a new program, if you feel like you need somebody just to put a program together for you, like even just with no weights whatsoever, if you feel like you need help with your diet, just get a hold of Justin. Believe me when I tell you, there are better human beings than you listening to this right now that have done the exact same thing. So if they can do it, you can do it as well. That's pretty much all I got this week, man. Thank you very much, Justin, for coming to do this episode with me this week. I really appreciate you coming to do this. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you being able to open up the way that you did today. And one thing that I always want to make sure that you appreciate is just so that way you know how much I appreciate your hard work and everything that you've done for me and for Crossbody Pro Wrestling, because that's something that I think that we as a team all put a lot of ourselves into, and you've been a very, very huge portion of us being able to grow the way that we have over the last year. And I just want you to know that I love you for that, and I thank you very much for that. And I'm looking forward to getting back to work when all this shit is over, man.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me come on board.
Appreciate you, buddy. That's it for this week's episode of Big Ben and Friends podcast. I'm Big Ben. This is Justin Sane. And we will see you guys on Tuesday, because I'm going to drop it Tuesday now because there's too much shit going on Thursdays, and I don't want to compete with them. So if you're listening to this, y'all are going to get to see episode 6 with Speedball Mike Bailey, and we will see you then. Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, buddy.